And we talk UAlbany men's basketball every Monday morning right here at this slot, 10:30, with the coach, Will Brown, with an 0-2 conference start with Stony Brook coming into town on Wednesday. You'll be able to hear the game right here starting at 7 o'clock and the pregame show at 6:30 on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. And, of course, you want to watch the game, you have the Watch ESPN app. You can also check it out there. Myself and Chris Honorato with the call on ESPN3. The coach joins us here on the Monday show. Good morning, Will.
Good morning. How we doing?
I'm good, man. How are you doing, all right?
Yeah, just trying to stay warm.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Today feels balmy. Today's like 30 degrees
out. Is that the
out.
word of the day, balmy?
Balmy. I went out this morning. I went, wait a minute. At least it's not 2 degrees out today.
It's much better than that?
Yeah, it's much better than that. If you haven't been out yet, Will.
It's like a nice spring day in upstate New York.
All right, so let me ask you, what have you learned from your team after that 12-3 non-conference and then the first two conference games? What have you saw on tape with the loss to Hartford and the loss to New Hampshire?
Well, the minute you get complacent, you get a swift kick in the rear end. Yep. It's a third game in a row we've been out-rebounded. I'm not sure in my entire career at Albany, and I could be wrong on this, if we've ever gotten out-rebounded 3 games in a row. I believe it was the New Hampshire game where we missed 15 shots in the first half, and we got 0 offensive rebounds. And in the second half, we got 7 or 8. So, I think right now we're not making enough toughness plays. I mean, we didn't become a bad basketball team in a 4-day stretch, between Wednesday and Saturday. I think we lost our identity or forgot what our identity is a little bit. And, these games come down to possessions, and I think we've wasted too many possessions in the first 2 games. You dig yourself a hole and get down 20 against Hartford, and you scrape and fight, and you play 9 minutes of basketball, and now the game's tied with, a minute and a half to go, and you get beat. And then on the road at New Hampshire, you get yourself down 13. You fight, you scrape, you claw, you get the game even with a minute and a half to go, and you get beat. So I think in the last 2 games combined, Hartford, we played 9 minutes of basketball, and I think, against UNH, I thought the first 16 minutes, thought we were pretty good in that game. I thought we were solid, and then we didn't start playing again till the last 8 minutes of the game. So we're just wasting an awful lot of possessions and not playing with any sense of urgency. And I think we've gotten what we've deserved, after 2 games of conference play. I don't think anybody's pushing the panic button right now, but we have dug ourselves a hole. It was our own doing. You credit Hartford, you credit UNH, but, I think we need to take a long look in the mirror, players and coaches, and say enough is enough, and move forward, and, play the way that, we play. And on most nights, if we do that, it's going to be good enough. If we waver from who we are and what we do, and don't play with a sense of urgency and toughness, what happened the first 2 games is going to continue to happen. So, it's a combined effort, players and coaches. We need to make sure that these guys understand what we need to do to stop the bleeding. It's not all on the players. I think too often, coaches are so critical of their players, and you got to look in the mirror sometimes as a coach and be like, hey, whatever the reason is, it's not getting done. And the kids are going to look to you to make sure it gets done. So, I think that's what, me in particular needs to do. Step up, make sure that, we get it done moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that you'll get this thing rolling. I just think sometimes you go 12-3, Will, right? And everyone was telling these guys how good they were, and they were. It was a great non-conference schedule and almost knocked off Louisville on the road and Memphis played well. I mean, it really did everything you could possibly ask. You only had 3 losses, but maybe they're drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, and you just can't roll out the balls and go, all right, well, we're going to be better than Hartford and New Hampshire, and we'll be able to play okay and still get the win. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah, well, we're still dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and you never know what's going through their head. And UNH, we actually didn't get off to a bad start for once. I thought our energy was pretty good early. I mean, obviously it was poor against Hartford. And the other thing for us, and there's no excuses. We're 0-2. You are what your record says. It says you are. We're dealing with some stuff with Nichols and Cremo. Nichols is really struggling with his wrist, and come to find out after the UNH game, and Joe's such a great competitor. He's kept it quiet from me, and he's communicated a little bit with our trainer, but hasn't made a big deal of it. But he's dealing with a bad case of plantar fasciitis. I can't even pronounce it in his one foot, and that's really bothering him, especially when he's not moving. And the issue is you got 2 choices: play those guys less or rest them. But we're not getting anything from 6 through 9 right now on a consistent basis. I think that's another issue. I've got to find a way to get those guys to help us more and to produce. And to be honest with you, it's not a talent thing. It's, if you don't know what we're doing, how the heck can I expect them to know what the other team's doing as far as scout-specific type things? And that's something that has been an issue so far. Those guys on the bench just haven't embraced the scouting reports, and quite frankly, are lost with some of the things that we're doing. And you know me, Raj, I get frustrated very easily, and so we need more from those guys. But let's face it, Nichols, Cremo, Steyer, Campbell, and Charles. Those are the guys that we're going to ride. I mean, Devontae's struggling right now, and that's something he and I had a nice talk yesterday. He needs to be more aggressive offensively and not live and die with how he's shooting from 3. There's so many other things he can do right now. He's doing a heck of a job defensively for us, but we need the Devontae that we had the last month of the season last year. So that's something that we're going to look for him to do, be more aggressive for us. But like I said, you got adversity staring you in the face. We need to step up and punch it in the mouth. And we have a Stony Brook team coming in here who's 2-0 in league. They won their first game, down 2 with 2 seconds to go. They hit a 35-footer at the buzzer, and then they're down 1 with 5 seconds to go at Hartford, and their center hits a 25-foot 3 at the buzzer. So that's how close you are from being 2-0 and 0-2, especially in league play. So we just need to put our head down and charge forward.
Well, I know you said this after the Hartford loss that you were kind of waiting to hear somebody screaming or throwing things in the locker room to try to get their teammates fired up, and you didn't hear that, so you took a more calm approach as well. And I know you've said here this morning, too, that you need to take some of this responsibility and be the voice that this team hears, and they turn to you for, okay, Coach, what are we doing to turn this thing around? But whose voice do you want to hear from the team? Like, a lot of times we just respond, better or differently to one of our peers. So is there a player or players on this team that you want to vocally step up so they aren't constantly just hearing your voice?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that if the coach has to lead every day, all day, it becomes a long season, and potentially it could get old, as well. I think you need to have voices from within the locker room, a player or multiple players that put the team in a headlock and make sure everything gets done and gets done at a high level, and there's no days off. You can play poorly, but still really compete at a high level. We have 4 captains, which is odd or unusual. Only twice in my coaching career have we had 4 captains. So I don't think it needs to be the same guy every single day. I think it needs to be a combination. David and Joe are, those guys are, I think, have the respect of their teammates because of how good they are. And I think, Greg and Travis have the respect of their teammates because those 2 guys bring it every single day. Practice, games. I think the guy that probably has the opportunity, who could have the most impact vocally, is Travis Charles, just because of how well respected he is. But let's face it, nowadays it's very difficult to be a really good leader because, when you get on guys, nowadays kids don't take it, the right way. They get very defensive when their peers get on them. There's a defense mechanism that goes up that they're going to say something back. And, I'm not looking at guys to get in guys' faces and demean players. It's about, hey, if you're holding yourself accountable, then you can hold somebody else accountable. And if we all want to win and really want to win badly, we understand why guys are getting on each other because we all have the same goal. We want to win games. And I think that's why as a coach you have to do a good job and a consistent job coaching your leaders and coaching your captains on how to handle certain situations, how to push buttons. And then if certain guys don't handle when a captain gets on them very well, I think that's when a coach, you have to step in and have your captains back. It's a different world nowadays. I mean, we live in this technology world, social media world, computers and video games, and it's just different. I think, when I played, and I was talking to John Yachty about this, when John Yachty played, I had more guys in practice. It was led by Levi Levine. He wanted to win every drill, every contest. He would grab guys by the shirts, get in their faces, and guys knew why he was doing it. He didn't demean you. He just wanted to win so badly. And, guys like Yachty and Brian Lillis, those guys, it was constant trash talk in practice. When they were beating somebody in a drill, they were rubbing it in, throwing salt in the wound. They would get the team that was getting beat so upset that they would raise their level, and it was so competitive that sometimes I had to shut down drills. It's just different now. It really is. Kids are different. I think you have to coach a little bit differently. Kids are more sensitive. So what you have to do is really learn about the dynamic of your team, and you can't coach every player, the same way, and sometimes that's frustrating. But let's face it, Chris, Roger, you've been around a lot of teams. You watch sports. If you as a coach every halftime or every day have to give a Vince Lombardi, Newt Rockne speech, your team is not going to be good.
Right.
Yeah,
you're not.
100%.
If you have to playing hard. I'm firmly convinced now. Playing hard is a skill. If you have to coach effort, you're not going to be good. And it's not that I have to coach effort. This is a 4-day roadblock right now. Like Roger, mentioned, we had a good non-conference season. In the span of 4 days, we've gotten very complacent, and we got a swift kick in the rear end. Now it's time for us to step up and respond and just be sick of that 4-day sour taste in our mouth and get it done on Wednesday. As coaches, you never like to say, this is a must-win situation. But I will say this, we need to win on Wednesday. And, whatever buttons I need to push, hopefully it's not many, but we need to find a way to get it done on Wednesday against a good, solid Stony Brook team.
Coach, appreciate a few minutes, and we will see you on Wednesday night.
Well, I don't know.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you Wednesday. Enjoy this balmy day, as you like to say.
Right. No, Coach, we will see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, don't forget about tomorrow.
Wait, hey, Ryan, there's no way I can forget about tomorrow, especially since we're not doing it in the morning. So hopefully it's a balmy afternoon tomorrow when we do this TV show.
Yeah, we'll be out and seeing our boy Nick Bonarigo at Mohawk Honda tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Well, I'll see you guys.
Thanks,
It's good
man.
talking with you.
Appreciate a few minutes. Thank you. That's Will Brown.